What's up, ladies and gents? You know what time of day it is. It's XCN time, and in today's video we're going to be talking all about XCN. We're going to be discussing what we are seeing here on the charts, and I'll be giving you guys my price prediction for XCN over the coming days and weeks, as well as my targets for 2025. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that. Of course, if you are a new viewer, then welcome to this channel. If you do like this sort of content, hit the like button and subscribe for more. If you are a returning viewer, as always, welcome back to the channel. It's great to have you all here. So, of course, we're going to be diving straight into this video. We're going to start off with the shorter term first for XCN and then move on to those 2025 targets. Of course, right now, as you guys can see, we are on the one-day chart, and so far we've had a bit of an increase in buying volume. Of course, if we go on the 1 hour chart briefly, this is what the past 1 hour looks like here on XCN. We've just had quite a nice pump, taking the prices up to 0.0135. Of course, from that point, we have seen the prices drop a little bit, but that is to be expected, and the reason for that is because we have quite a major resistance here on XCN in the very short term. So basically, if I just zoom out a little bit here on the chart, you can see that this green line here is just a major resistance where the price of XCN has come to this level on several times and tested it as a support and resistance. And so this sell-off in the very short term is to be expected, but I do think that it could set us up for a massive short-term pump. So over the coming days, we could potentially see the prices go quite a bit higher here on XCN. Now, how I'm looking at this chart here on the shorter term is the fact that this price action that we've seen now just over the past hour has made it clear to me that we could be seeing some sort of head and shoulders pattern. So basically, head and shoulders pattern is a trend reversal pattern, and it's defined by one large head and two smaller shoulders on either side. So we've got a structure that looks a bit like this, and we've seen the prices come up to this neckline here on every occasion after the head and shoulder. And so what is left right now here for XCN is for the prices to break past this upper trend line here. So at 0.0135, if we see a breakout to the upside, we could see a short-term pump here on XCN over the coming days and weeks of the distance between the bottom of the head to where this trend line is sat. And as you guys can see, that is about roughly a 30% upside from wherever we see a breakout. That takes us pretty much directly to 0.017. So of course, that's something to look forward to here on XCN in the shorter term over the coming days and weeks. Now, of course, just in case you missed it as well, yesterday we had some big news from the Fed. Of course, the interest rate decision yesterday was a 25-point reduction in the interest rate, the first one since 2024. And as you guys can see from the markets today, they are loving the rate cut. Of course, a rate cut is very bullish here for crypto because crypto is a risky asset. And when we get a lowering of the interest rates, it's more accommodative for investors to be risk on. So we generally tend to see crypto rise when we get a rate cut, and that is what has happened. Of course, maybe throughout the rest of 2025. And of course, throughout the rest of 2025, there is a high chance that we're going to see more of these rate cuts as well. So that's another bullish thing to have happened here for XCN. Now, of course, on top of that as well, if you've not yet seen, we've got 12 days left before this Goliath news comes out, but there's a little hint at the bottom here that says or sooner with that emoji. Of course, if that doesn't make you excited, I don't know what will. But of course, this is the project that the Onyx team have been working on for the past 6 months. It's supposed to be a super fast layer 1 blockchain that's going to have a lot of institutional uses. Of course, we're going to see this testnet work. If it works as expected, that is going to be extremely bullish in my opinion here for XCN. So 12 days time, that is coming out, or potentially sooner. Let's see what happens with that. Maybe that is the reason why we are seeing these small bursts of buying volume here on XCN. Of course, if you guys want to get $10 completely free to buy some XCN before we see any such pump in the shorter term, then don't forget to check out the MEXC exchange. As you guys can see here on the screen, they're giving every new user who signs up using the link in the description down below $10 to get started. Now, this exchange does not require KYC. The only thing you need to do to get that $10 is to deposit some fiat or crypto into your MEXC account, and then you'll get that $10 straight away. So you can use it to simply buy some XCN, or you can also use that $10 to long or short XCN with up to 20 times leverage. Of course, the link for this is in the description down below. Thank you guys for all of your support on this video. Let's get back into the charts. So, of course, this is what we're seeing here on the shorter term. Now, for the longer term targets here for 2025 and beyond, what we are seeing here. So if we go on the 1-day chart and just remove that head and shoulders I showed you in the shorter term, of course, in the longer term, first and foremost, if I show you guys quickly the MACD, we can see that this is already looking very bullish. So that is nice. We are seeing clear bullish momentum on the 1-day MACD. Most important time frame, in my opinion. The 1-week MACD is also important. We are seeing an improving picture on the 1 week, but we've not yet seen a crossover. I do think that this could be one of the conditions that could allow XCN to fly. If we get a crossover on the 1 week MACD, this is generally a really good buy signal, and it could be the condition that could allow it to do a pump like what we saw back in January. Of course, if we follow the weekly MACD and have a look at when we first saw the crossover, it was about here on the chart. So we had to be a little bit patient, to be honest, before we saw this 20x pump here on XCN. But if we get the same sort of crossover, that can only mean one thing, that sooner or later we see something explosive here on XCN at some point in the future. So that's something to look out for if you plan to hold XCN for the longer term. A crossover on the 1 week would be absolutely fantastic. Of course, for what we think the price targets are for XCN in 2025, what I'm mostly looking at this current point in time is the structure that has been forming over basically the past 6 months. And of course, that structure is this triangle pattern that you see here on the chart. Of course, in the shorter term, like we were talking about with that head and shoulders, we could see something where the price comes up to this upper resistance once again, which conveniently also sits at 0.017. We might see a bit of a rejection, but what we're really looking for is any potential breakout to the upside, because if we get that breakout, we could be looking at a really big price target here on XCN. And of course, the price target is the first test of support to the first test of resistance. And if we drag this measuring tool to wherever we saw that breakout, we are looking at a price target here on XCN of 0.064. So that's something we could expect here on XCN, maybe in the coming weeks or months leading into the end of 2025. Now, of course, another pattern that I'm also potentially looking at is something that looks a little bit more like this. Now, this is another formidable resistance in my opinion. You can see that it's been tested again on several occasions, but the difference with this upper resistance here from this triangle is one, that we are closer to that resistance, so we only need to cross 0.014 in order for us to see a breakout, and two, we get an even bigger price target if this is the triangle that XCN has been consolidating in. Now, if we do see that breakout, we could be looking at an even bigger target, like I say, of around 0.095. Now, for both triangles, the deadline for them is only in a few months' time, so it fits the narrative perfectly that towards the end of 2025, we will see a large pump. You can see that this one, for example, if we drag the two trend lines close together, ends at about the end of October. So that means that XCN has to make its mind up about which direction it wants to go in. Now, of course, that direction, in my opinion, is going to be up, but those two triangles are the main ones that I'm looking at here for XCN. So those are some of my price targets for 2025. Some other ones that I'm watching for here on XCN fall along these fib levels. Now, we use these fibs because, as you guys can see, the prices have used them as places of support and resistance on multiple different occasions. As you guys can see, when XCN comes to make new highs here over the coming weeks and months, we have these 3 extended fib levels that could be places where XCN finds some resistance. So the first fib here at 1.272 tells us we could see about 0.11 here on XCN. If we can get above that, then we've got this 1.414 fib that could be another resistance here for XCN. This is a strong target for me because this is also the previous all-time high for XCN. So 0.17 is a strong 2025 target to have. And of course, if we are able to make new all-time highs, then the next target is this 1.618 fib that tells us we could see up to 33 cents this bull run. So these are my two ambitious targets here for XCN, but just based off this triangle, I'm expecting anywhere between 0.06 to 0.095. So of course, all eyes on this upper resistance line from the two triangles that I showed you earlier. I do think that's going to provide the motive for XCN to do a massive pump to the upside, like what we saw back at the start of 2025. I do think that if this Goliath news is what people are expecting, then this could really help XCN break out of this triangle pattern that we've been seeing now for the past 6 months. And of course, those rate cuts as well are going to be a massive benefit too. So those are my thoughts here for XCN. In fact, let me just show you one more thing as well that's keeping me fired up about the whole crypto market. And basically, what's getting me very excited right now, just for the whole crypto market. So whatever crypto that you are in, have a look at the total free market cap chart. Essentially, this is an ascending triangle. This is a bullish chart pattern. We expect the prices to break out to the upside from this pattern. And we are so close to doing that. Of course, the rate cuts yesterday were a massive help. We are back up at the resistance. And once we break above this resistance, the next target here for this this ascending triangle, is this $4 trillion market cap, which basically is about a 4x from where the market cap currently is. So on average, crypto is going to do about a 4x this bull run if we see a successful breakout from this triangle pattern. So this is one of the things that we are monitoring right now here in crypto. This is definitely one of the more bullish things that we have. Other things as well include the fact that Ethereum has broken out from a multi-year triangle. This triangle we have seen on a lot of other cryptos like Chainlink, like XLM, XRP, and so on. There's plenty of cryptos breaking out from their long-term multi-year triangles. And of course, that is only going to be bullish for smaller coins like XCN as well. So of course, that is pretty much what I wanted to say for this video here on XCN. If you are a holder here on XCN, enjoy the pump that we are having. I do think that we've got plenty more coming in the near future. Of course, thank you once again for watching this video. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.